Rich girl mocked the mechanic for being poor, until he became her greatest love. The first time Amelia saw Daniel, she laughed at him. Not because he had done anything wrong. Not because he had said something foolish. She laughed because his hands were covered in grease, his old work shirt was faded, and his shoes were worn from years of hard work. To Amelia, who had grown up surrounded by luxury, Daniel looked like someone who belonged nowhere near her world. She had no idea that the poor mechanic she mocked that afternoon would one day become the person she needed more than anyone else. And she certainly didn't know that life was about to teach her the most painful lesson of all. Never judge a person's worth by the money in their pocket. Amelia was 26 years old and the only daughter of Richard Harrison, one of the wealthiest businessmen in the city. She lived in a beautiful mansion, drove expensive cars, wore designer clothes, and attended parties where everyone seemed to know her name. People admired her beauty, people feared her father's influence, and many people wanted to marry her. Amelia had everything money could buy. But there was one thing she had never learned: humility. Her father owned a large transportation company with hundreds of vehicles. One rainy afternoon, Amelia's expensive sports car suddenly broke down on a quiet road outside the city. She stepped out of the car, staring angrily at the engine. Unbelievable, she complained. She immediately called her father's driver, but he was several hours away. Then she noticed a small mechanic shop across the road. The sign above the building was old and faded. Daniel's Auto Repair. Amelia walked inside. A young man was working beneath an old truck. He was wearing a blue mechanic's shirt, and his hands were covered in grease. He heard her footsteps and came out from under the vehicle. "Can I help you?" he asked politely. Amelia looked him up and down. Then she looked at her expensive car. "Can you fix it?" Daniel smiled. "I can take a look." "How long will it take?" "Maybe an hour." Amelia sighed impatiently. "An hour?" Daniel nodded. "Your car has a problem with the engine. I need to check it properly." Amelia crossed her arms. "Do you even know what you're doing?" Daniel looked surprised. "Yes, because this is a very expensive car. I understand. I don't want someone inexperienced touching it." Daniel remained calm. "I've been repairing cars since I was 16. Amelia laughed. 16, so you're basically self-taught. Mostly. That's reassuring. Daniel ignored her sarcasm. He opened the hood and began inspecting the engine. Amelia stood nearby, scrolling through her phone. After a few minutes, Daniel said, "The problem is serious, but I can repair it." "How much?" "About $300. Amelia looked shocked. "300? Daniel nodded. "Yes." She stared at him. "That's cheap." Daniel smiled. "Not everyone can afford expensive repairs." Amelia laughed. "I suppose that's true." Daniel looked at her. "What does that mean?" "Nothing." "No, really. What does it mean?" Amelia shrugged. "It just means I guess you have to work with people who can't afford better." Daniel slowly closed the hood. "Are you saying something about my shop?" "I'm just saying it looks." She paused. "Old." Daniel nodded. "It is. And you, what about me? You look like you belong here." For the first time, Daniel's expression changed. He was hurt, but he didn't respond angrily. Instead, he simply said, "I'll fix your car." Amelia smiled. "Good." An hour later, the car was ready. Daniel handed her the keys. "Try it." Amelia started the engine. It worked perfectly. She reached into her purse and pulled out several bills. "Here." Daniel counted the money. "You gave me too much." "Keep it." "I can't. It's a tip. I don't need charity." Amelia stared at him. "Charity?" "Yes. I was just trying to be generous." Daniel handed the extra money back. "Then pay me what I earned." Amelia's face turned red. She took the money. "Fine." She drove away without saying goodbye. But the story didn't end there. A week later, Amelia was attending a large charity event with her father. She was wearing an expensive dress and standing beside several wealthy businessmen. Then she saw someone familiar. Daniel. He was standing near the entrance wearing a simple black suit. Amelia couldn't believe it. She walked toward him. "What are you doing here?" Daniel looked at her. "Attending the event." "You're attending?" "Yes." She laughed. "Did you win some kind of contest?" Daniel frowned. "What? You know, a mechanic at a rich people's event." Daniel calmly replied, "My shop was invited." "Why?" Before he could answer, Amelia's father walked over. "Daniel." Richard Harrison smiled warmly. Amelia stared at her father. "You know him?" Richard nodded. "Of course." He turned to Daniel. "Thank you for coming." Amelia looked confused. "Dad, how do you know him?" Richard smiled. "Daniel is one of the most talented mechanics I've ever met." Amelia's expression changed. Richard continued. He has been repairing our company vehicles for years. What? Daniel looked uncomfortable. Richard laughed. His shop may be small, but his knowledge is exceptional. Amelia suddenly remembered everything she had said to him. Her face became hot. Daniel simply nodded. Nice seeing you again. Then he walked away. That night, Amelia couldn't stop thinking about him. For the first time, she felt embarrassed by her own behavior. But pride prevented her from apologizing. Several months passed. One morning, Richard called Amelia into his office. I need your help. With what? The company is having problems. Richard explained that several of their delivery trucks had been breaking down. The repairs were becoming expensive. Amelia didn't understand why it mattered. Can't you hire someone? We need someone who understands the problem. Richard looked at her. Daniel. Amelia immediately recognized the name. The mechanic. Yes. Why him? Because he discovered that the problem isn't the trucks. Richard showed her the reports. Someone has been replacing good parts with cheap ones. Amelia's eyes widened. Someone is stealing from the company. Exactly. Daniel had noticed the pattern. He had warned Richard, but whoever was responsible had been careful. Richard asked Daniel to investigate. Amelia was assigned to work with him. She wasn't happy. Why do I have to work with him? Because one day, this company will be yours. Amelia sighed. Fine. The next morning, she arrived at Daniel's shop. He was already working. You're late, he said. Amelia looked at her watch. I'm 2 minutes late. Daniel smiled. 2 minutes is still late. She rolled her eyes. I don't work for you. Then why are you here? To help. Daniel laughed. All right, rich girl. Amelia glared at him. Don't call me that. Why not? Because I don't like it. Now you know how I felt. Amelia became silent. Daniel went back to work. After a few moments, she said quietly, I'm sorry. Daniel looked up. For what? For what I said to you that day. Daniel wiped his hands. You were rude. I know. You judged me. I know. You thought I was poor, so I wasn't worth respecting. Amelia looked down. Yes. Daniel studied her face. Why? Are you apologizing now? Because I was wrong. For the first time, Daniel smiled. That's a good start. Working together changed Amelia. She began seeing Daniel differently. He wasn't just a mechanic. He was intelligent, patient, hardworking, and honest. He had grown up in a poor family. His father had been a mechanic too. When Daniel was 17, his father died unexpectedly. Daniel had left school to support his mother and younger sister. He worked during the day and studied at night. He had received several offers to work for large companies, but he stayed with his small shop because he wanted to build something of his own. Amelia was amazed. You never told me any of this. You never asked. That answer stayed with her. Slowly, Amelia began to admire him. One evening, while they were checking company records, Daniel discovered something important. The stolen parts were connected to a senior manager. They reported their findings to Richard. The manager was investigated and eventually arrested. Richard thanked Daniel. You saved my company millions. Daniel shook his head. I just did my job. Amelia watched him. She realized that Daniel never cared about praise. He simply did what was right. A few weeks later, Amelia's life changed. Her father suffered a serious business loss after a major investment failed. Suddenly, the family was facing financial trouble. The mansion was sold. Several cars were sold. Employees were dismissed. For the first time in her life, Amelia experienced fear about money. Her friends disappeared. People who once surrounded her stopped answering her calls. Amelia finally understood something. Many people hadn't loved her. They had loved her wealth. One rainy evening, Amelia sat alone outside the old mechanic shop. Daniel found her there. What are you doing here? She looked exhausted. I don't know where else to go. Daniel sat beside her. What happened? My father lost almost everything. Daniel was silent. Amelia began crying. I thought I had so many friends. Daniel handed her a clean cloth. People show their true colors when life becomes difficult. I don't know what to do. You can start again. How? Like everyone else. She looked at him. Everyone else. Yes. One day at a time. Amelia laughed through her tears. You make it sound easy. It isn't. Daniel looked at the rain. But difficult doesn't mean impossible. Amelia eventually found a job. It wasn't glamorous. She worked in Daniel's shop, handling customer records and accounts. At first, she struggled. Customers who knew her family sometimes laughed. Look at the billionaire's daughter working in a garage. Amelia wanted to quit, but Daniel stopped her. Why do you care what they think? Because they're laughing at me. Let them. Easy for you to say. No. Daniel looked at her seriously. It's easy for me because I learned long ago that other people's opinions don't pay my bills. Amelia smiled. You really have an answer for everything. No, just experience. Months passed. The business began growing. Amelia discovered that she was actually good at managing the shop. She created a new booking system. She helped Daniel advertise online. Soon, customers came from all over the city. One day, Daniel received an offer from a major automobile company. They wanted to buy his business. The offer was enormous. Daniel could become wealthy overnight. But he refused. Amelia was shocked. Why? Because I don't want to sell. You could become a millionaire. Daniel smiled. Maybe. Then why not? Because I built this with my father. Amelia understood. You really love this place. Yes. Daniel looked around the shop. This is where I learned everything. Amelia smiled. Then let's make it bigger. Together, they expanded the business. Within 3 years, Daniel owned several repair centers. He became one of the most respected automotive experts in the region. And Amelia, she became his business partner. But their relationship had changed too. One evening, Daniel invited Amelia to the rooftop of their largest workshop. The city lights stretched across the horizon. Amelia smiled. Why did you bring me here? Daniel took a deep breath. Because I want to tell you something. She looked at him. Years ago, you looked at me and saw a poor mechanic. Amelia lowered her eyes. I was wrong. Yes. She laughed. Thank you for reminding me. Daniel smiled. But I want you to know something. What? That day, I saw you as a spoiled rich girl. Amelia's eyes widened. Excuse me. Daniel laughed. You were rude. I apologized. I know. He became serious. But then I saw something else. What? Someone who was capable of changing. Amelia's smile faded. Daniel continued. You lost your money. You lost your friends. You lost the life you thought defined you. He stepped closer. But you didn't give up. Amelia's eyes filled with tears. Daniel, I don't care how much money you have. He reached for her hand. I care about who you are when no one is watching. Amelia looked at him. And who am I? Daniel smiled. The woman who became my greatest partner. Amelia laughed softly. Only partner. Daniel smiled. Would you like to be more? For a moment, Amelia said nothing. Then she smiled. Yes. Years later, people often talked about Daniel's success. They talked about the mechanic who built a business from nothing. They talked about the poor young man who became a respected businessman. But Amelia remembered something different. She remembered the day she laughed at him. She remembered how quickly she had judged him. And she remembered the lesson that changed her life forever. Money can buy comfort. Education can open doors. Success can change your circumstances. But character is what remains when everything else disappears. Amelia had once believed that Daniel was poor because he didn't have expensive clothes or a luxury car. She later discovered that the richest person in the room is not always the one with the most money. Sometimes, it is the person with the biggest heart. Daniel had never needed Amelia's wealth. He never chased her because of her family. And when her world collapsed, he didn't walk away. He stayed. He helped her stand again. And eventually, the girl who once mocked him became the woman who loved him. Their story became a reminder to everyone around them. Never judge someone by the job they have. Never measure a person by the clothes they wear. And never assume that someone's current situation is the final chapter of their life. Because the person you look down on today may become the person you need tomorrow. And sometimes, the person you thought had nothing to offer may be the one who gives you everything that truly matters.